attended my way. So a couple weeks ago, Dad talked about having different ones come up and tell their story. Since I've been here since the start of Living Word, literally. It's a different set of people now than it was then, and for the most part, even now it's been a couple years. So he really felt the Lord saying, let's let people know a little bit of the stories of some of the active members here. Hi, Teresa. And how did you get to be to your place in faith today, and in the church, and in your walk of life? So I know last week we had Pastor Shane and Mindy talk. It was going to be me and Liza today, but Jake's under the weather, so she's home. I wasn't going to let her talk anyways. And so we'll see. He's talking about maybe doing this every 5-6 weeks, giving things at home. It may be every week now just for the next few weeks where somebody else may come up here. So anyhow, he said, Nate, go up to the pulpit and talk about yourself. And I said, Dad, I'm a guy. Been doing that for a long time. But I know everyone wants to know about Mom. So we'll start with Mom and go from there. Monday we got the call. Nate, we're taking Mom down to the hospital. Bad headache again. She knew pretty much what it was. She's been through it before. Said, knowing my dad, she says, here's my license, here's my insurance card, and here's my prescription card, you're going to need this. And he said within an hour she was pretty much, I wouldn't say incapacitated, but she wasn't with it fully to be able to handle some of the things that were going to have to go down at the ER. So they checked her in. I finally got down to see her on Tuesday, and she was a little bit better. But as we say, pray for Dad as much as Mom. Where Mom's at today, her spirits are high, she's feeling better every day. What they found is a leak in her spinal. She's leaking spinal fluid somewhere. They think they've got it narrowed down. Not exactly where yet, so that's why she's going through additional tests, things like that. We're supposed to sit with the doctor tomorrow to figure out next steps, whether that's going to take place at the hospital she's in now, or whether they're going to move her to another place that specializes in it a little bit more. But as I was saying, pray for Dad as much. He's dealing with the emotional and spiritual end of it, I think, more than she is. Mom's a rock. Dad's a rock too, but it's different when you see your dad shaking, when he's been everybody else's rock. So my job right now is to kick Dad in the pants for once in my life and to say, you're a strong man, you're the pastor, he's taking you through this, you got to keep trusting him. The elders came down one night and we anointed them with oil. And my words to my dad were, be strong, mind this battlefield as well. He had an instance one second day. Liza and I went to go see Mom, and there was a sign on her door that said, don't enter, talk to nurse first. And my dad hadn't seen that yet. So we went up and he was going to go in and he said, well, Dad, there's a sign. And so he asked the nurse and she said, well, Mr. Hood, she's really, really sick. In the filter that he has right now, he read that as, I feel he interpreted that as she's not going to make it. So he went in and, before he went in, Liza and I kind of hesitated. Well, we've got a 5 and a 6-year-old at home, not knowing what's going on. I love Mom, but I'm not going into that yet till we know what's going on. But Dad felt, okay, if this is what we're talking, I need to go in right now. So he put the mask on and the gown and the gloves. And when he went in, I asked him, she said, so when you said really, really sick, are you guys talking percentages? And she's like, oh no, she's just really, really sick. Like, when he comes out, you need to tell him that. Said, whatever you said struck him, and so he came out, and she put her hands on him and said, sorry, Mr. Hood, I didn't mean to alarm you. We're not thinking she's dying. She's just really, really sick. We need to get her healthy before people come in and out with whatever they have. At that point, well, thank you. I didn't know what you meant by that, but he's doing better. But he's, pray for his strength and peace just as much as you're praying for Mom's healing.
Amen.
She did call the church today, and her words to you all are, thank you so much for your patience and prayers. We are getting answers concerning my health and what will be done to improve my health. I love every one of you and miss you, and thank you for your encouraging words and cards. Continue praying for me as there are more decisions to make. I hope to be home and well very soon. So thank you for all you've done, and keep doing what you've been doing. But as far as talking about myself, Dad wanted to talk about what are some of our stories here in the church. And like I said, last week we heard from Pastor Shane and Mindy. And the stories are our testimonies, right? Testimonies are, testaments to the tests I've been through and the tests I'm in. So where do I start? Hi, I'm Nate. I'm a pastor's kid. In a way, my story's a lot like Pastor Shane's. I mean, look at us. We're both tall, good-looking, and humble. I'm a little more humble than Shane. Overall, I've had a pretty good life. A lot of you guys have known me for all of my life, or most of my life. But it hasn't been easy all the time. I think I talked about it before. I was a midget, still kind of am. Scrawny, still kind of am. It's just the weight's in a different place now than it was even a couple years ago. As a kid, I went through the ugly teenage years, braces, bad glasses. I mean, really, really bad glasses. But that's what Christ had paid for. That's what we got. I always had pretty good friends, close with the family. Didn't really have a girlfriend until after high school. So Shane, same story there. So I handle it with building walls and a cage. You can't hurt me if I'm in it, and I can't get hurt if I'm out of it. I remember times where I'd finally muster all week, praying at night, talk to myself at night. It's gonna be bold tomorrow. There's a cute girl sitting next to you in class. And it seemed like every time I'd say something, someone's like, "Nate talking louder than he normally does." Gone. There I go, back to the same spot. So it's like, just stay there. You can't get hurt if you're there. A lot of friends, family came and left. Jeremy, he was probably my closest friend at that point, cousin Jeremy. They moved to Colorado, moved from public school to a private school, so the friends that I had known for the 8 years of my life. Granted, private school was probably good for me at that time, but in other ways, all right, so now we're my friends. Got to make new friends. At a young age, you learn to lean on God. Had encouragement from friends. Fortunately, learning came easy, so I always had that going for me. And then through high school, I turned good grades into a full ride at what was a liberal arts college, Christian college in Farmington Hills, William Tyndale College. No longer there, nor is my high school. So if you look for my records from about 88 to 93, I don't exist. But I was in those places. But I went to college, still a very shy guy, made a couple friends. I think for the most part I was the tag along. I was just a guy to chum up with, maybe had a couple extra bucks to buy the Taco Bell with. I was also an outcast because I wasn't in a ministerial program at a Christian college. Heaven forbid. I'm taking all the same Bible classes, I just wasn't taking some of the other ones. I was in a business program because God doesn't need Christian businessmen, right? But that's kind of how you felt there. So after a while, grades started to slip. But I didn't really realize this, but in college you had to work for grades. Study harder, you got tests, you got speeches. I didn't have all that, and this is the high school that I went to, and it just came easy up to that point. So I did just enough to keep the scholarship up. Like, what do you got to do? What's the minimum to stay there? A big thing for me, I always leaned a lot on the Lord, but I always associated a lot with sports. That was kind of my go-to. At that time, the Pistons had won a couple titles, and so as a Detroiter, I was following basketball, and basketball was my escape, even if I was only 5'6", 120 pounds. But in playing pickup ball with the guys in college, I wasn't necessarily dominating competition. And then the Fab Five came around, 1991, 92. And to me, these were, I didn't know these guys, but these were my guys. We graduated together, so somehow we all went to the same school or something. But they had a swagger that kind of connected with me. It was like, well, these guys are young guys, and I think up until that time, culturally, you had to wait your turn. Even if you were good at something, it seems like when the older guys said it was time, then it was your time. And what I liked about these guys was like, oh, we're good now. Why can't we do some things that we can do now? And that resonated with me. And they played well against Duke. And Duke was like my Celtics for a Detroiter. My dad liked the Celtics and he liked Duke, so it was kind of cool that my team played well against them. Unfortunately, never beat them. But at that point, I got contact lenses, so I lost the ugly glasses. I liked the Fab Five, so I picked up a little attitude. Wore the black socks, baggy shorts. I even started dating. Got to go to a prom and a homecoming, so I finally had a little swagger in my life, which helped. And then at one point I realized that my bachelor's in business administration, that was a startup program at a small liberal arts Christian college in Michigan, probably wasn't going to do me too well if I wanted to go far in the business world. So I transferred to Oakland. I gave up my scholarship, some of the credits there, because Old Testament, New Testament, hermeneutics don't really transfer over to the public universities. Took a math class in the spring and just bombed it. I mean, I hadn't touched math since probably 11th grade, and it wasn't this math. And so it was tough. And then somewhere along the way I heard you just needed about a 2.0. Just do enough to pass, and you'll be fine. Broke up with a longtime girlfriend. Last year or so was more of the on and off variety. It was difficult, but yet in my heart, I knew it was time to move on. God used that time for, you learn there's different milestones in life. When you look back, when you're an old man, respectively, you look back at the milestones in your life and you go, oh, that's what you were doing. So it built the confidence in me, something that I can be proud of myself, and I didn't have to be shy and things like that. I was a different and a stronger person by this point in my life. I worked at a golf course, the one near my parents, and by that time I had become the right-hand man. I had the keys to the building, the members at the club thought highly of me, co-workers loved me, had an improving golf game, which always helps, and a nice smile and some swag. And then Tiger Woods hit the scene. And he was still the good Tiger Woods, I think, from a moral standpoint and a golf standpoint. But he had a persona, again, that gravitated to me that was like, hey, I'm young, I'm good, I'm going to win. You don't have to wait your turn. And as most young people, I was still at the stage in my life where I was like, okay, well, you'll get your chance, Nate. So again, that kind of resonated with me at that point in my life. I did start dressing like him, read everything about him, tried to get the same equipment and clothes as him. People did count 60 or 70 golf shirts in my closet at one time. I did get good deals. I didn't pay full retail for them because I worked at the golf course, but that was me at that time. And the kind of cool thing for me was that I was known at the golf club now as a good golfer and the best driver of the golf ball at Scalloway. I'm finally something in this world. Even the golf pros club wanted to watch me, like, what's everybody talking about? So there was swagger and confidence. And summers for Nate by that point, and the ladies, I'll admit, started to be good. They weren't always Christian girls at that point. Good girls, but not fellow believers. But I didn't really care at that point for someone who didn't have much of a dating life before that. I wasn't shy, so I could talk to girls now. It wasn't sweaty palms and turn the other way and leave the room. I, at that point, even felt like I started dating out of my league, because I still deep down felt I was the little scrawny guy that shouldn't be dating pretty girls, But that's where I was. One girl had a big impact on me, so this was another milestone. And she kind of said, grades were suffering. She said, people look at that, Nate. And I remember, what are you talking about? I'm going to graduate from Oakland. Yeah, but you got to put on your resume what your grade point average was. If you just get through, they're going to see that you just got through, and they're not going to hire that guy. Good point. Good talk. So I started trying again. This is probably early my junior year, and goal at that point was to graduate with a 3.0 or better. And got up to 3.1, graduated with 3.1, so I made it back to respectable. But going back to the dating, it was fun, and I got out of my bubble. Concerts and golf tournaments, but I wasn't fooling anybody. I mean, even so these non-Christian girls that I was dating, they knew who I was. As much as I was trying to live outside of it, I even had one, I heard more than once, "You're too good for me," which how many times does a guy ever hear that? Like, what? Wait, what? Another one said I should be dating a nun. She was Catholic, and I was like, you know nuns don't date. You know? But I got the point. And then you also learn summer loves always lead back to college blues and the breakup. Or the, sorry, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to go party with these guys at East Lansing. Oh, yeah, that's right. So you adjust again. You were back at college, and I was back at college. So by this point, I was still a pretty confident dude. Still going to church, still active at church, starting to spread my wings a bit more. After years of never trying alcohol, let alone drinking alcohol, I gave it a try. Very, very casual. Still to this day, never been drunk. But by my last year of college, I was doing more of the fitting in. So in my mind, I was 25, never sowed my wild oats. Most people have sowed them at like 17, so I'm already 8 years behind the times. But I remember two vivid situations that I believe God used to get me back on track. One was my classmates and I would go to Fridays out by Oakland after class, probably once a week. And one day as I was drinking my one drink, that was my rule. So I could fit in, but still not get drunk, but you still got to, rub elbows with everybody. So I'm talking about what I was doing for the weekend. And I may have told this before. Said I was going to a wedding and that my dad was doing the wedding. And someone goes like, oh, that's cool, your dad's a DJ. No, he's a pastor. And then another girl's like, oh, my dad's a pastor too, and she was one of the ones that just bombed. I'm like, okay, so this is great for this stereotype. Two pastors' kids having drinks together, and she's blitzed. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Thumbs up, Nate. Way to fall into the mold. The other one was like probably the last month of classes. And we went to the same Fridays. I ordered my one drink, and one of the classmates, who I wasn't close to, but he was one of the stronger, more strong-willed guys, like, next round on me. And I'm like, oh, no, I've got my one. Come on, guys, last class, we're never going to be together again. This one's on me, you can do it. I'm like, no, man, I just do one. I'm buying it, it's coming. So it showed up. I had my one, or had his, and, left the restaurant, rushed home, tired. I stopped at a red light and it turned green and I went. And apparently I went too fast.
Uh-oh.
Lights behind me, pull over, and I was scared to death. That I was going to get a ticket for speeding, but more along the cop said, you've been drinking, sir. I'm like, sure, the one time that I had two, I'm the guy that gets pulled over. I could point you back to the restaurant, everybody else you should watch them, not me. I could see the headlines already. Pastor's son in jail. Pastor's son drinks too much. Alcoholic pastor's son. Shutting living word down. It was all happening in the matter of this stuff. And I was like, all right, he always talks about the article, Hood starts church. Hood's son drinks into a blitz and closes church. I could see it all. He pulls me over and he says, do you know why I pulled you over? So I didn't tell him why I thought he pulled me over. I just said, I don't know. Like, well, you were speeding, you know what the speed limit was. And then I saw a sign, the speed limit sign. And it said 35. He says, you were going 55. Like, And he took my license, and I had a clean record. He says, I'm going to let you go, just please slow down. And at that point, I was like, okay, God, I'm done. You've got me twice. I'm going to pay attention from here on out. I'll admit I probably had a couple since then, a long time ago, but that was enough to say, I'm not getting silly anymore. So I escaped, and that was pretty much it. That winter, I started a new role at the golf course as the marketing director. It was actually a newly created role, kind of for me. They wanted to do it. I graduated with a marketing degree. It was like, Nate's been here 9 years. He's got a marketing degree. Let's make him, and we don't have to pay him well. He'll be happy with that. I was green, and they played me well. So the same place that I started as the cart boy and crashed a golf cart on my first day there, I was now part of the management team. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like, Nate Hood rises through the ranks to be marketing director at a small private country club. Yes. But I made a lot of good connections with the members, and they started sending me to golf marketing seminars. One time they sent me to Dallas. I was hoping Aunt Faith was here still. got the taxi ride from the airport to the hotel, called Jessica and Aunt Faith, went to dinner with Faith, and she would have kind of picked us, but I remember Cotton and Jessica picking me up. Cotton had a nice, Jessica's husband, nice Yukon, had the nice sound system in it, big 20s, he had the dubs, he had the spinners, and like, this is kind of cool. And he was, I won't use the term, he was blasting some ODB for the young folks at home. And it was just kind of fun. And I don't even think he had the clean version, guys, but we were rolling around Dallas in a pretty cool truck. They took me to their church that night, and MC Hammer by that point was saved and preaching, and he was preaching at that church. So, so it was kind of cool. I'm in Dallas, catch up with family, I'm rolling around on cool wheels, and I get to listen to Hammer give one of his first messages. I just can't beat this. But then I remembered that I was there for work. So I went to the seminar. And that's, I thought that was cool. I was staying in a nice hotel. Fortunately, it was one of the ones find out that the Green Bay Packers were in town. I was staying at the same hotel as Green Bay Packers. Gilbert Brown. That's when you walk off and you see Gilbert Brown walking. He's a big dude. Walk off and they'll be like, wait, and you hear someone else at the hotel talking about who's staying at the hotel. Like, Nate Hoods, same hotel as the Packers. This is what it's all about. Got to go to a nice restaurant on the company dime, went to my first Brazilian steakhouse, and then you're watching everybody else still drinking their lives away. Probably the same people that I'd be going to the seminar with. And I remember from the steakhouse, we went to a club, and by that point I was sipping my lemonade and my water, while everybody else was still throwing them down. And I remember there was a situation where one of the presenters at this seminar was on the dance floor with one of the attendees. And this was dirty dancing, flirting type. And one of them was either married or engaged. I remember going, that ain't right, they're not supposed to be doing that. This is all kind of weird. I'd never seen much of that up at this point in my life. You could see where this was heading though. And it was heading to that awkward cup of coffee at the morning session of the seminar where it's like, how was your night? Good. How was yours? How was your night? It was like, yeah, we know what happened. But it was like, I think I'm going to pass on that way of life, So, again, it was a milestone, like God saying, so these things that you wanted to be in life, I had told my dad at one point I wanted to be a big shot, be high in business and things like that. And that's how the business world kind of operated. So at some point, I don't remember what it was, I told my dad I was going to be a big shot somewhere. Working in a high-rise, overlooking the city. To me, that was the pinnacle. Had an impression that executives don't work. They just get paid 10 times more. Sat back and told people to do things. So finally got a call from GM for a contract opportunity, which sounded good. I was going to make a little bit better money, but it was only a 3-month contract. And I remember talking to some of the guys, again, make good connections at the golf course. What should I do? I can take this, it's a GM contract that could lead to opportunity, or after 3 months they say thanks but no thanks, and now I don't have any job. With the opportunity and some of the direction and some of the help from people that I really held high esteem, they should take it. So I took it. About 3 months in, I learned this about big companies. About 3 months in, they told us, well, the contract's 3 more months, the project's not done. 3 months later, they said 3 more months. And 3 months later, they said 3 more months. And finally, they said, well, you're going to be here for a little bit while. After 2 years on this re-extended contract, they finally said, Nate, we don't know when this is going to end. We're just going to hire you direct. Cool. So, got that, and you start to learn over that time about the career chasers, a lot of backstabbing that goes on, the whole trying to align yourself with the right people. Those are the coattails I want. He's a fast mover. She's cute, and the boss likes hers, and be friends with her. You see all this stuff going on. Like, is that really how I want to get to where I want to get? You saw the chosen one.